So let me go now to our project, because that was, why do we need to do all this? Our project is very young compared with what the others have been telling you here. They are 20 years, 15 years, and that kind of things. We are about 2 years old, and the first year was just the initial part. And so we got approval from CEDA in 2015, and we are going, and it's a 5-year project. 13.7 million. We are collaborating with the School of ICT, KTH, in this project. And you may recall that some years back, when in 2005, when we had this problem of power network, what do? We hired services. Some of you may remember the net group. It helped a little bit, but it didn't solve the problem. So it is essential to develop capacity. We are going to a new way of doing things, so we need to develop our own capacity. So at that, therefore, we developed new programs that will build capacity to these students, of these candidates. So, and what we aim at that, we aim this project, we want to enable TANESCO to monitor at national, regional, district, and local level the faults, locations, status when they occur. Yeah, we're sitting someplace in a computer. Now you need to go to a SCADA room in order to get this, but we need to get to that. We need to register all faults as they occur, showing location, who reported the fault, assigned technician, action taken, duration to clear the faults. All these have to be mapped so that you can go to history and then tell what is happening. You can even know that one place is they're inefficient in doing their work, and that is possible only if you have this intelligent network. And then you can map the generation, consumption pattern, and other different patterns if you by introducing this intelligence into the power network. Now you can see one of those, at the college, we have started that work. What we want is to make it all visible. Yeah, you can see in the different cases here on the left, you have the actual active network where our students, the research students, had started looking and trying to connect to make the power from different areas in active network to be able to be monitored remotely in different conditions which is taking place. But we do not want only to do that, we also want to extend that even to small generators, small power sources, isolated in different locations. Because the power is not only, we should not only concentrate on the grid, there will always be off-grid networks. Yeah, it's just one of our students there, just demonstrating that they actually have managed to create their small SCADA, yeah, for the institution where we are. How are we doing that? As I mentioned, we introduce intelligence and smartness using ICT in the whole electrical power system network, from generation to consumers. Yeah, today you can get, because you have generation, you have transmission, then you have a distribution network, and you have the consumers. All this must be covered in the whole entire network. And then we need to involve stakeholders and clients continuously in our process. We don't wait until the end and then the producer comes. So we want them to be always involved. We needed an international collaborator. We don't want to start doing what was done 20 years ago. We want to also use the international collaborator so that we can pick up and try to get into that. Yeah. So, and then we don't need to reinvent the wheel. In short, we want to train manpower for effective implementation and sustainability of this program. Yeah, so that after a certain period, then you get into that instance. We can see at the end whether we can achieve any of this after the presentation. What do we expect at the end? We expect to enhance electrical power reliability. We expect that the fault clearance time can be minimized. You can enhance productivity, and you can have optimized electrical energy costs. Because there are other things that are required there, but I will not go into the technical aspects of it. So we then introduced this training program, as I mentioned earlier, which we wanted to train capacity or make the capacity for that. So we introduced this training program on this discipline, new area, and we had a certain philosophy. We introduced PhD program instead of people just going for research We are putting in top GED program. We have introduced a master's program. We also introduced postdoc so that we have PhD students, they can also join in the research and build capacity and supervision capability. And we have sandwich. All these are embedded in that training. But more important is that we have chosen to use challenge-driven approach. In choosing challenge-driven approach, we are working with the industry. Because there is one thing which is valid in our place. That is, there is very weak industry academia connections when we want to do research and development activities in the technical and scientific areas. Because of that, then we think using the challenge-driven approach can actually help in bridging this weak industry academia network. But then we work closely with our industry. And also when you are using a challenge-driven approach, it's a challenge. If you are taking a real life challenge, you cannot do it alone. So you need a multidisciplinary team. So in that case, our approach, therefore, is inbuilt in there to actually build multidisciplinary team as part of working. When you work very closely with your user and the stakeholders, you have a potential user of your output. So therefore, you are creating potential for business. And because you work closely with the user and industry, the transfer of knowledge and skills between the academia and the process do take place. So we chose to combine the education, innovation, and research as our basic approach. And the other thing is just an illustration that quest for power does not depend on the quality of your house. Everybody wants to have power. But then you also, when you have a remote place like that one, an intelligence system can be able to help you in monitoring and managing and even maintaining of your system remotely if it's done properly. I think, and then we have a student, they did a project, finally, then they presented to us. You can see a lot of messes here. It's just to illustrate the interconnection, but just for illustration. But normally you put them together, it becomes very neat. But here, just to illustrate that they're having different connections in different monitoring, and they were presenting for their work in this. But they were working on a live network of TANESCO. Because here, we wanted to cultivate the feeling that we are doing something which is useful to them. So we thought just doing something in the lab and demonstrating in the lab will not change the mindset of our clients. So we did actually develop a system and put in their network, and then they could come and see that we actually can monitor and do things on the network. With that, I think I appreciate very much for your time and listening. Thanks very much.